The sun beat down on the deck of the Seafarer, a sturdy sailboat, as it sliced through the waves. Captain Jack, weathered face etched with years at sea, adjusted the course. His first mate, the burly and jovial Tom, kept a watchful eye on the horizon. Joining them were two new crewmen, young and eager. Mark, a skilled navigator, and Liam, a strong and silent type. They were a motley crew, bound by their love for the sea and the thrill of adventure. Their mission was simple: deliver the Seafarer to its new owner in Puerto Rico. It was supposed to be a routine voyage, a straight shot across the Caribbean. Little did they know, their path would soon intersect with the legendary Bermuda Triangle. The first few days were uneventful, filled with the rhythm of the sea and the camaraderie of seasoned sailors. They shared stories, laughed, and worked together seamlessly. Mark, ever the student, pored over his charts, his fingers tracing the lines that marked their planned route. Liam, usually quiet and observant, surprised everyone with his talent for cooking, whipping up delicious meals from their limited supplies. The sun set each night in a blaze of glory, painting the sky in hues of orange, pink, and purple, a reminder of the beauty that surrounded them. As they sailed south, however, the mood began to shift subtly. The wind, once a steady companion, became unpredictable, shifting direction without warning. The waves, once playful, grew choppy and unpredictable. It was as if the sea itself was becoming agitated. The change was subtle at first, but it was enough to make the seasoned sailors uneasy. Captain Jack, though outwardly calm, found himself checking their position more frequently, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of trouble. Tom, usually full of boisterous tales, grew quiet, his usual cheerfulness replaced by a brooding silence. The Bermuda Triangle, even the name sent shivers down the spines of the most hardened sailors. It was a region of the North Atlantic Ocean, roughly bounded by Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, infamous for unexplained maritime disappearances. Some dismissed it as mere superstition, a collection of coincidences and exaggerations. Others whispered of strange magnetic anomalies, rogue waves, and even alien abductions. Whatever the truth, the legend of the Bermuda Triangle loomed large in the minds of those who dared to sail its waters. The crew of the Seafarer was no exception. They tried to ignore the growing unease, to brush it off as mere superstition. But as they sailed further south, deeper into the heart of the triangle, the whispers of legend became harder to ignore. They had all heard the stories, tales of ships vanishing without a trace, of compasses spinning wildly, of strange lights in the sky. Stories that sent shivers down their spines even under the bright Caribbean sun. The stories were just that, stories, weren't they? The change in the atmosphere was palpable. The air, previously alive with the salty tang of the sea, grew heavy, thick with an unnatural stillness. The sun, usually a comforting presence, now seemed to beat down with an oppressive heat. The sky, once a brilliant blue, took on an unsettling milky hue. Even the seabirds, usually a constant presence, seemed to avoid their ship, as if sensing something amiss. The Seafarer itself seemed to sluggishly cut through the water, the waves slapping against its hull with an almost mournful sound. It was as if they had entered another dimension, a place where the laws of nature were suspended. The compass, once a steadfast guide, began to spin erratically, its needle dancing wildly as if possessed. Mark, usually meticulous in his navigation, double-checked his charts, his brow furrowed in confusion. "Something's not right," he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. "The readings are all over the place." Liam, usually unflappable, found himself constantly looking over his shoulder, his senses on high alert. Even the ship's radio, their lifeline to the outside world, crackled with static, making communication impossible. They were alone, adrift in a sea of silence. Captain Jack, a seasoned sailor with decades of experience, had never witnessed anything like it. He tried to rationalize the strange occurrences, to attribute them to natural phenomena. But deep down, a knot of unease tightened in his gut. He had heard the stories, the legends of the Bermuda Triangle, but had always dismissed them as sailors' tales, exaggerated accounts of mundane events. Now, faced with the inexplicable, he began to question everything he thought he knew. Then the Seafarer lurched violently. It was as if an invisible hand had reached out from the depths and grabbed hold of the vessel, shaking it like a toy. The crew scrambled for their balance, their faces etched with fear. The compass spun wildly, its needle whirling uncontrollably. Charts scattered across the deck, their markings meaningless in the face of the unknown. The radio, their only link to civilization, emitted a high-pitched whine before falling silent. They were alone, at the mercy of an unseen force that seemed determined to swallow them whole. Fear, primal and consuming, tightened its grip on the crew. Liam, his usual stoicism shattered, gripped the railing, his knuckles white. Mark, his face pale, fought back a rising tide of nausea. Even Tom, the jovial giant, seemed to shrink under the weight of the unseen threat. Only Captain Jack, his weathered face a mask of grim determination, seemed to retain a semblance of composure. He barked orders, his voice a beacon of authority in the face of chaos, trying to restore order, to regain control of his ship, his crew, his destiny. But the sea, it seemed, had other plans. The Seafarer, once a proud vessel, was now a plaything of the elements, tossed about like a cork in a whirlpool. The once clear sky had transformed into a swirling vortex of menacing clouds, their darkness a reflection of the fear gnawing at the hearts of the men aboard the Seafarer. The wind howled like a banshee, its mournful cry a harbinger of doom. Wave after wave crashed over the deck, threatening to splinter the sturdy vessel into 1,000 pieces. Section 5. Ghostly lights, eerie silence. The crew's resolve crumbles. As night fell, plunging the Seafarer into darkness, the strange occurrences intensified. Eerie, greenish-blue lights danced on the horizon, their glow illuminating the terrified faces of the crew. They flickered and pulsed, like spectral flames, their silence more unnerving than any thunderous roar could ever be. The air crackled with an unseen energy, raising goosebumps on their skin. The crew huddled together, their faces illuminated by the ghostly glow, their eyes wide with terror. Even Captain Jack, his face etched with concern, felt a shiver run down his spine. The silence was perhaps the most unnerving thing of all. The wind, which had been howling like a banshee just moments before, had vanished as quickly as it had arrived, leaving an eerie stillness in its wake. The sea, which had been churning and roiling, now lay eerily calm, its surface as smooth as glass. The only sound was the creaking of the ship's timbers, a constant reminder of the immense pressure they were under. It was as if the world itself was holding its breath, watching, waiting. The silence pressed down on them, suffocating them, amplifying their fear. They were trapped in a nightmare, a surreal and terrifying world where the familiar laws of nature no longer applied. The compass was useless, a mere bauble in this realm of distorted reality. Charts, once their guide, were now nothing more than scraps of paper, their markings meaningless in the face of the unknown. The radio, their lifeline to the outside world, remained stubbornly silent, their calls for help swallowed by the oppressive silence. They were alone, utterly alone, adrift in a sea of uncertainty and fear. Trapped in a timeless void, despair and the unknown, time itself seemed to lose all meaning. Hours bled into days, days into what felt like an eternity. The sun, once a comforting presence, now seemed to mock them with its relentless cycle, rising and setting on a world that no longer made sense. The crew of the Seafarer, once a tightly knit unit, was unraveling thread by thread. Sleep, when it came, was filled with unsettling dreams, visions of swirling vortexes and ghostly lights. Their waking hours were no better, each moment an agonizing dance with fear and despair. Liam, his usual strength and stoicism replaced by a haunted look, muttered about ancient curses and vengeful sea gods. Mark, his youthful optimism crushed under the weight of the unknown, retreated into himself, his eyes staring vacantly at the horizon. Even Tom, the normally jovial giant, seemed to have aged a decade, his booming laugh reduced to a hollow croak. The sea, once a source of life and livelihood, was now their prison, a vast and merciless expanse that held them captive in its grip. They were adrift in a timeless void, their past lives fading into distant memory, their future uncertain, their present an agonizing torment of fear and despair. Captain Jack, his weathered face etched with exhaustion and worry, watched his crew crumble before him. He felt responsible for their well-being, their lives. He had led them into this nightmare, and now, he feared, he would lead them to their doom. He had always prided himself on his ability to remain calm in the face of danger, to make rational decisions under pressure. But now, faced with the inexplicable, the unexplainable, he felt a knot of fear tightening in his gut. He was a man of the sea, a creature of logic and reason. But the Bermuda Triangle, it seemed, defied all logic, all reason. It was a place where reality itself was fluid, where the impossible became possible, where the line between sanity and madness blurred into oblivion. A glimmer of hope, a rescue signal in the static. Just when their hopes had dwindled to embers, a flicker of light pierced the darkness. The radio, silent for what felt like an eternity, crackled to life. It was faint at first, a mere whisper amidst the static. Then, clear as day, a voice, calm and steady, cut through the noise. Mayday, 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 this is the Coast Guard cutter Guardian. Do you copy? The voice, a lifeline thrown across a chasm of despair, jolted the crew of the Seafarer back to the present. Liam, his eyes wide with disbelief, scrambled to adjust the dial, his fingers trembling with a mixture of hope and fear. Mark, a spark of his old self returning, grabbed a pen and paper, ready to take down any information they could glean from the garbled transmission. Tom, his massive frame shaking with a mixture of relief and residual fear, let out a roar that was half sob, half battle cry. Even Captain Jack, his weathered face betraying a flicker of emotion, allowed himself a moment of cautious optimism. Could this be their salvation? Had their prayers finally been answered? Guardian, this is the Seafarer. Do you copy? Liam shouted into the microphone, his voice hoarse with emotion. The static crackled and hissed, threatening to swallow his words. Then, a moment of heart-stopping silence, followed by the voice again, fainter this time, but still audible. Seafarer, this is Guardian. We read you weak but clear. State your position. Over. Hope, fragile as a newborn butterfly, fluttered in their chests. Silence returns, uncertainty and the vastness of the sea, but their elation was short-lived. Before Liam could respond, before they could even celebrate this small victory, the voice disappeared. The radio, their lifeline to salvation, fell silent once more, the only sound the maddening hiss of static. Had they imagined it? Had their desperate minds conjured up the voice, offering them false hope? Or had the strange forces that held them captive snatched away their only chance of rescue? They huddled around the radio, their faces illuminated by the faint glow of the instrument panel, their expressions a mixture of disbelief and despair. The silence stretched on, each second an eternity. The vastness of the sea, once a source of awe and wonder, now mocked them with its indifference. They were a tiny speck of humanity adrift in an ocean of uncertainty, their fate hanging precariously in the balance. The strange occurrences that had plagued them before the radio call seemed to have vanished, as if they had never been. The sea was calm, the sky clear. The only reminder of their ordeal was the eerie silence that enveloped them, broken only by the creaking of the ship and the pounding of their own hearts. Captain Jack, his face a mask of grim determination, refused to give up hope. He ordered Liam to continue trying to establish contact with the Guardian, his voice firm despite the tremor in his hands. He knew the odds were stacked against them, but he had spent a lifetime battling the sea, and he wasn't about to surrender now. He scanned the horizon, searching for any sign of another vessel, any indication that they were not alone in this watery wilderness. The unanswered question. Lost to the Triangle, or... Days turned into weeks, and still there was no sign of the Guardian. No response to their increasingly desperate calls. The Seafarer sailed on, a ghost ship adrift in a sea of unanswered questions. Did the crew survive their encounter with the Bermuda Triangle? Or did they join the countless others who had vanished within its mysterious depths? Were they rescued, their story becoming another legend whispered among sailors? Or did the Seafarer sail on, forever trapped in the enigmatic embrace of the Triangle, its fate a chilling reminder of the unpredictable and unforgiving nature of the sea? The answer, like the Triangle itself, remains a mystery, lost in the vastness of the sea and the annals of time. The legend of the Bermuda Triangle endures, a testament to the enduring power of the unknown, a chilling reminder that even in our age of technology and exploration, there are still forces in the world that defy explanation. The sea, for all its beauty and bounty, holds secrets that may never be fully understood, mysteries that continue to haunt our collective imagination. And so, the tale of the Seafarer serves as a cautionary reminder. The sea is a powerful and unpredictable mistress, and those who dare to venture upon her waters do so at their own peril.